Herschel Damn Walker says racism no longer exists, but in a clip some years back, he said his biggest obstacle to overcome in America was actually racism. And he has erections on his mind when sitting next to Lindsey Graham and Ted Cruz. I will explain. Here's the first video.
The hardest thing I think I had to overcome in life, I think racism. Yeah, I think that's so difficult because I don't think anyone can ever understand it. And it's not the point that people don't want to understand it, but they don't want to touch it. So like that's a subject we can't touch. Let's get away from it. But it's there, and as long as it's there, you gotta cope with it. So with me, I'm always the type of person, if something is in front of me, let me deal with it. Let's not push it under the rug or push it to the side, because no matter what, it's gonna keep coming up. If you never deal with that dirt up under the carpet, it's gonna get larger and larger. And it's gonna keep coming up. Little bit by little, it's gonna seep from underneath that carpet. So you deal with it now, and you're gonna try to get those piles out. I think that's been the most difficult thing. I grew up in the South. My senior year was a very big racial detention. In my hometown, that was a very big deal.
The Herschel Walker back then spoke truth. The Herschel Walker today speaks lies. And here's the thing, the Herschel Walker today knows he's speaking lies. He is contrary to what he represents. This is called a sellout. He is a bona fide sellout, taking a position adversarial, antithetical to the position his community experiences. The community that produced him, that validated him and supported him. He now has decided to be contrary to that same community, adopting a false narrative. And he knows good and damn well, his narrative about race relations in America is wrong. It is immoral. It is incorrect. But it is an avenue for power. So his real ideology is rooted in the obtaining of power, not values, not sentiment, not a goal for good, but for evil. Now, here's another interesting situation with Herschel Walker. Here it is.
Well, first of all, this election is more than Herschel Walker. This election is about the people. And I said this election is about the people. This election is about the people. This election is about the people. And I said this.
What? Okay. Listen, Herschel, come on, man. It's okay. All right. When you sit next to Lindsey Graham and Ted Cruz, and you're right in the middle, man, and you guys are really close. You have erections on your mind. Now, the reason I bring this to your attention, Herschel, is because you have bashed members of the LGBTQ community. You have made, let's say, a career out of being opposite of the viewpoint of tolerance and celebrating diversity and all kinds of diversity. So let's get this straight. Herschel Walker, the Republican nominee for the US Senate in the state of Georgia, he says that women who exercise their right of choice in America are murderers. But multiple women are on record saying that he paid for abortions himself. Herschel Walker says that he is a real man of God, and Senator Warnock, the pastor, is the phony. It is Herschel Walker who has made these proclamations about him graduating from college and never did, being top of his class in high school, never was, and the list goes on and on. Why? Because of power. Why is he still being protected and supported, knowing he's a charlatan? Why are these individuals still campaigning for him, raising money for him? Power, nothing more. All right, Ben, thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, really, Herschel Walker is like your standard conservative. Like he only cares about himself, and it's pretty obvious, right? And this is why I think there's a pattern of consistency. Of course, right, when Herschel Walker was younger, before he became incredibly wealthy, right? Yeah, he had to deal with a lot of racism, and he cared about racism because he personally had to deal with it. Now, he is in a position where he has enough of a cushion, where he has enough money to hire a bunch of sycophants, and he's got all of these right-wing ghouls that are willing to just completely support anything that he says as long as it's harmful and toxic, that he feels that racism doesn't affect him in the same way that it used to, so he can pretend that racism doesn't exist anymore. Because just like every other conservative, he just thinks that he is the only person of consequence. If he is not personally experiencing racism on a daily basis, then to him, racism doesn't exist, right? It's just this sort of lack of object permanence that Republicans have. And you can see how truly vile this mindset gets people to be, because quite literally just after the hateful attack against queer folks at that nightclub over the weekend, literally the very next day, Herschel Walker goes running around on this hateful transphobic speech. These Republicans have no sense of decency. They have no even notion of empathy towards other people, because in their minds, they are the only human being that matters, which is why they have no commitment to the idea of truth. They have no commitment to the idea of humanity. All they care about is their own individual comfort and power.
Very well said. All right, we will continue to follow the runoff election between Raphael Warnock, the current senator, and his challenger, Herschel Walker. Okay.